After the extremely sequel-heavy start to this year for anime in winter, we're finally in spring, and I can confidently say that anime is so back. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today I'll be going over some of the best and worst anime airing in spring 2025. I'll talk about my first impressions on all the new shows, recommend the ones I'd consider as must-watches, and talk about my thoughts on this season of anime as a whole. So, without wasting any more time, let's get the sequels out of the way, starting with Windbreaker Season 2. Windbreaker is finally back, but the characters' parents are definitely not. Still crazy that we've never seen a single parent or teacher in 2 entire seasons of the show, but honestly, who gives a shit when we're just here to watch 15-year-olds act like gangsters and beat the shit out of each other? The animation is just as good as season 1, and the fight scenes have great choreography. Plus, this season also seems to have quite a bit of progression and development for Sakura and some other characters like Nire, which is really nice. It's a very solid watch, especially if you watch season 1 of the anime. Next up is Fire Force Season 3 along with Black Butler. I can't really say much because I haven't watched the previous seasons, but I'm sure they are great watches if you're a fan of both shows. And finally, the last entry on the sequel corner is Shoshimin Season 2. If you guys don't know, this one is by the same author as Hyuga, and season was pretty damn solid. It's a mystery anime like Hyuga, but while the series starts off with the same mundane and low-key vibe, this shit just gets crazier and crazier as you realize just what kind of characters we're dealing with, and the mysteries keep getting crazier. And now let's move on to the slice of life and drama section. The 3 anime that really stood out to me were Once Upon a Witch's Death, Summer Pockets, and Anne Shirley of the Green Gables. Once Upon a Witch is about an apprentice mage being told that she will die in a year, and the only solution is to collect 1,000 teardrops. Not just the normal ones though, because she needs to collect tears that people shed when they're happy. This one is a pretty good drama as we see Meg going on a journey learning about and helping other people going through some rough shit in their lives. Next up is Summer Pockets, which is the anime adaptation of a Key visual novel. Jun Maida's name always pops up when talking about Key because of his works like Clannad, Little Busters and Angel Beats, but this one is not actually being written by Jun Maida, and he only worked on the concept and music. Now, whether this is a good or bad thing remains to be seen. I haven't read the visual novel, but the first 3 episodes of the anime are very slow burn and mundane. But I personally love the early 2000s vibe and visual novel aesthetic, which is honestly enough for me to keep watching this show. Anne Shirley of the Green Gables. This one is a very interesting anime because it's the adaptation of an old Canadian novel. And the craziest part is the fact that this anime is a remake, and the original anime came out in the 1980s, had like 90 plus episodes, and 15 of them were directed by Miyazaki. Yes, the Hayao Miyazaki from Studio Ghibli himself. The anime is about an orphan girl who gets adopted by an old couple. This anime is the very definition of vibes, and it never fails to put a smile on my face. If you're looking for a slice of life anime with some pretty good drama, this is the best you're gonna find in this entire season. Aside from these 3, I also heard some pretty good things about Mono and Food for the Soul, but I personally haven't watched them yet. Moving on to the romance and comedy section, let's start with a spicy one. Can a boy-girl friendship survive? This anime is the equivalent of watching a train wreck. You can tell how everything is gonna pan out from the very first episode, but you just cannot stop watching. This rom-com is about 2 friends who are very close. I mean borderline dating kinda close, but everything changes for their relationship when Hugh reunites with his first love. This anime is pure undistilled high school drama, and I cannot stop watching it. The one thing that really surprised me was the pacing at which the drama happens. I was fully expecting a crash out, but I definitely didn't expect it to happen in the very 3rd episode. I don't know if most people will enjoy this rom-com as much as I do, but it's low-key one of my favorite anime to watch this season. The Shionji Family Children is a rom-com by the same author as Rent-a-Girlfriend. Now, I know that statement doesn't inspire much hope, but it's actually pretty enjoyable, for the very same reasons as boy-girl friendship. This anime is about 7 siblings from a rich family finding out they're not related by blood. Well, 2 of them kind of are. And now all the limiters are off and the relationship between the protagonist and his sister slowly start to change. If you're a fellow Rent-a-Girlfriend hater, don't worry, the protagonist here is 1,000 times better than Kazuya, and that's honestly enough for me to not drop it. Witch Watch is a wacky rom-com that's actually pretty funny. Well, at least the second episode, because I personally wasn't a fan of episode 1 at all. Episode 2 is where I started to finally enjoy the show, and the comedy was kind of hitting, especially with all the references. The one thing about this anime that took everyone by surprise was the fact that the opening was directed by Megumi Ishitani, who's behind some of the best One Piece episodes, but aside from that, I don't have too much to say. I think it might be a pretty decent show if the future episodes have the same vibe as the second episode. And the last entry on this list is Kowloon Generic Romance, and contrary to the title, this show is far from generic. It's basically a mystery anime disguised as a romance, and you absolutely need to watch it. I don't want to spoil anything because the mystery is a huge aspect of the show, but the one thing that concerns me is the fact that this is going to be a complete adaptation when the manga is still ongoing. So yeah, they're planning for an anime only ending, which is pretty concerning. And now we have the fantasy and isekai section. The 4 shows that stood out to me were From Old Country Bumpkin to Master Swordsman, Evil Lord of an Intergalactic Empire, The Brilliant Healer's New Life in the Shadows, and The Beginning After the End. If I'm being honest, absolutely none of these shows are worth watching unless you're familiar with isekai tropes and know what you're getting yourself into. Country Bumpkin has some pretty nice waifu designs, Shadow Healer has some pretty decent production quality, Intergalactic Lord has some potential to be pretty decent if it leans more into the comedy, and finally The Beginning After the End is absolutely garbage with no redeeming qualities about the anime adaptation. And now let's finally move on to my must-watch recommendations for this season, starting with My Hero Academia Vigilantes. This is a prequel spin-off for My Hero Academia, and it's easily a must-watch, especially if you're an MHA fan. And the best part is that even people who fell out of love with MHA would really like the story because it's way more grounded and focused on doing hero activities without any of the academia stuff. The show also looks visually stunning, and the art direction and compositing completely mocks the actual MHA anime. So far all the characters are really likable, and I've seen a lot of manga readers preferring it over the actual MHA manga, which honestly gets me really hyped. Lazarus is an anime original by Studio Mappa that's being directed by the one and only Shinichiro Watanabe. An actual living legend in the industry is finally back with a new project, and it's a must-watch just for the animation and choreography alone. Though I do have to say that I'm not completely sold on the story and characters just yet, even though I've watched all 3 episodes currently out. I think the story definitely has potential to be something interesting, but I'm not a huge fan of the pacing so far. Ultimately, I'd still say it's worth watching because of how technically impressive it looks. But yeah. Ojo-samas and rock music are 2 things I never expected to hear in the same sentence, but Rock is a Lady's Modesty gave me something I did not know I desperately wanted. This is a really unique band anime with some crazy ass characters you'd find in something like Kakegurui. If you don't mind the CGI performances, this is easily a must watch and one of my personal favorites this season. Yaiba is very easily the most ambitious and well-produced anime of this season. It's a studio-wit anime with a lot of staff who previously worked on Mob Psycho and other high-profile anime. The animation is absolutely freaking insane, and I'm personally a massive fan of the story. It's another remake adapting an old battle shonen manga from the author of Detective Conan, which was serialized in the 90s. The anime feels extremely nostalgic to me despite never watching the original anime, and I love the campy writing style, paired with the quirky, larger-than-life characters. It has very similar vibes to early Dragon Ball, and it's extremely refreshing to watch a shonen anime with this type of writing with absolutely cracked production values. Apocalypse Hotel is easily the most unique anime of spring 2025, and I desperately need more people to start watching it right now. I don't want to spoil too much, but it's a very bittersweet and unsettling story, hiding behind a vibrant anime with positive vibes on the surface. The story follows highly advanced AI robots in a post-apocalyptic setting, and it has very high potential to become one of the best anime of 2025. Please go and watch it immediately. And finally, the last anime on this list is To Be Hero X, which is once again one of the most unique and interesting anime in recent years. I know I've reused those lines way too many times in this video, but it really is fitting for To Be Hero X because it's technically not even an anime. It's a Chinese donghua that's being jointly produced by Aniplex and Bilibili. The story is set in a world where superheroes are created by the trust of people believing in them. It's easily one of the coolest power systems I've seen recently, especially as we slowly start to see the negative effects of a world where the collective can decide and change literally anything about a person. The anime looks absolutely stunning, and it frequently switches between different animation styles depending on the scene, which is an insanely cool concept. The anime is also filled with quite a bit of social commentary that doesn't feel shoehorned, and the storytelling is just great in general. It's absolutely a must-watch anime, and I can't wait to see what it has in store for the future. And that's pretty much all I have to say for anime in spring 2025. For all the degens who are still watching, I also recommend Takamine-san, Makina-san and Yandere Elf for fully uncensored plot, also airing this season. And that is a complete breakdown of almost everything airing in spring 2025. It's easily one of my favorite anime seasons in recent years because I'm currently watching 15 plus anime with no intention of dropping any of them. It's an extremely solid season filled with lots of new anime originals with some long awaited sequels. Leave a like if you guys enjoyed the video, comment down below what are some of your favorite anime airing this season, and consider subscribing for more anime content. Peace.